Next, we're switching gears a little bit from the finance industry, and I'd like to introduce to you Richard McDuffie. He is the COO of Dunavant Global Logistics. He has spent over 20 years in the supply chain industry, brings a wealth of knowledge to little companies that he's worked for previously as VP of Supply Chain and then VP of Global Logistics, both AutoZone and one of my personal favorites, Williams-Sonoma. He brings, as I said, a wealth of knowledge and is known for gains in supply chain and service and really efficiency of metrics. So let's welcome him and learn something a little bit different about logistics today.
That'd be great. So I'll tell a little, well.
Okay, set up.
Okay, a couple of quick things. One, I did not plagiarize this presentation because everything you're going to hear today is just about everything you've already heard. So I promise you that. Secondly, I want to tell you that I'm really humble. And by that, you can look in the program by the fact that being a Mississippi State grad, which you guys are going to have a lot of fun with, I have the shortest bio, and I'm the only one not wearing a tie. So y'all will have a lot of fun with that, me being a Mississippi State grad. So I really do appreciate being here. Bethany and John, thank you for inviting me. I hope I can share some things today about my own career that are pertinent to what you're getting ready to go through and what you're about to embark upon. You know, one of the statements I've got in here right now is it's a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, it truly is. And you're going to have failures and successes, and you're going to learn from your failures, and that's critical. Just a little short, brief statement about Dunavant. We're a 50-year-old company based in Memphis, Tennessee, been around a long time. Dunavant's got corporate roots or in cotton trading. And its headquarters is Memphis, but we've been worldwide for years. Dunavant was one of the first cotton traders in the United States to ever trade with China. So we've been doing global business since 1972. A big part of a commodities firm, the way we traded, was really, it was sat on a three-legged stool. Big piece was opportunity trading, futures and options. The second piece was buying and selling of commodities, which was cotton. And then the third one was the logistics behind that. We spent over $250 million a year moving product all over the world, 100,000 containers, 7 million square feet of warehousing space in unbelievable places. We were the largest microfinancer of farmers in Zambia. We employed over 115,000 farmers there that grew plots of cotton that were less than an acre. I came to Dunavant in about 2006. They were spending $250 million a year, didn't have control over that all over the world, and wanted somebody to come in and take over and really look at their logistics from a global perspective. And based on my experience with AutoZone and Williams-Sonoma, they brought me in from that perspective. Dunavant has been named a Forbes 400 largest privately held company, and in 2007 was voted most ethical company. Our key areas of focus today right now are global logistics, real estate development, private equity, and philanthropy. And in 2005 through 10, we've gone through a fairly significant change in the company. Recently, we sold our cotton trading organization to Louis Dreyfus Commodities. That transaction was complete in 2010. I could take you through a long, long history of what we went through from about 2008 through 2010. The world in the commodity market changed completely. We were number one and number two in the market all over the world. We were privately held, but we weren't multi-commodity. And we used billion-dollar non-committed lines of credit. And when the banking world changed, and it's changed forever, what happened was we had to go to syndicated lines. More assets, less for your collateral, and it just changed the way we wanted to do business going forward. And the family decided to de-risk their profile. Our vision for the future is to leverage our global expertise all over the world that we've had in the last 40 to 50 years and continue to develop our logistics company. A little bit about my own career. I was an average student, but I had strong work ethic. I sent myself to college. I graduated from Mississippi State in 1989 with a degree in finance. owed about 10 grand and of college loans. It was funny to hear Michael talk about, taking a job versus the money you were looking at when you graduated out of school. I had a finance degree, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to go to work for a bank. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to work for a bank. Well, I interviewed with Union Planners in Memphis, Tennessee. They offered me a job being a bank teller at $14,000 a year. And then I got an interview with KLM, which is a trucking company, about $250 million trucking company in Jackson, Mississippi. And they offered me 20 grand a year. So I took the job. I went into the logistics business, and that's the reason I chose logistics. It was as simple as that. Finance gave me a background on what I was about to embark upon, but I didn't necessarily look at it and go, I want to be in finance. I just knew I wanted to make money and pay off my student loan as quickly as possible. First 10 years of my career, I took a bunch of jobs that, quite frankly, at the end of the day, gave me a basis that allowed me to grow into what I'm doing today. First job out of school, KLM, I was a management trainee. I had to drive a truck for 6 weeks out on the road. I was driving with a guy named Barry Quibido from Lafayette, Louisiana. He had an 8th grade education. But he had 5 kids in Lafayette, but he made $60,000 a year driving a truck. He's one of KLM's best drivers. And I learned more from him and more from that experience. I visited 40 states in less than 6 weeks. And, you think about, why would you do that? I had friends of mine who, went to work for Procter & Gamble and things like that, and they were saying, Richard, why are you traveling all over the, country and somebody, and living out of a truck? And I said, look, it's my job. It's the first job I've taken. I've got to pay off my school loans. This is what I'm going to do. So, as things progressed in my career, I looked for different challenges. And I heard somebody say today, you want to take a challenge that you really think you're not up to, that maybe is above your experience level and maybe scares you to death. I had that opportunity in 1992. I was working for Ryder Integrated Logistics, and they offered me a job to move up to Georgetown, Kentucky, to work at the Toyota Camry plant. At the time, the Toyota Camry plant in Georgetown was rated J.D. Power and Associates #1 plant in America. And I said, I got to go do this. If I'm going to be in the logistics business, I've got to learn this business. And so I went up there, and I will tell you, it was probably the single best experience in the first 10 years I ever had. I worked there. I had to work 24 hours a day sometime. The hours were ridiculous. My wife looked at me and said, why are you doing this? I said, I think it'll pay off long term. I think that, the more I ingrain myself into my industry, that it'll pay off long term. And then I started thinking about, I want to follow smart people. I evaluated who the people out there that I was dealing with, and I tried to say, okay, who's the smartest person in the room, and made sure I attached myself to those people. Because at the end of the day, that is extremely important, because they've got a knowledge base there that you can, and you'll hear this term in the presentation I have, you need to be a sponge. The last 13 years of my career, I will tell you that it truly is all about people. If the one thing you don't get out of today, it is all about people and your relationships with people. And so whether you're hiring them, whether they will make you or break you, if you're managing a lot of people, if you don't hire the right person, you will fail. If you don't have the right team in place, you're not going to have, the success that you want to. At the same time, if you don't have people surrounding you from a good mentoring side, that's going to put you in a worse position as well. You got to be able to adapt to a culture. I'll give you a great example. AutoZone, one of the best retailers in the country, best performers on the S&P in the last 20 years, one of the best. If you look at their culture, we did a cheer for every meeting. Every management meeting, we're sitting there, give me an A, give me a U, give me a T. You're thinking, when people walk in there, go, wow, I'm at a football game, or what's going on? But it was they recited their mission statement, their vision, and it was all about getting and adapting and getting people to adapt into that culture and be part of that culture. Be prepared to reinvent yourself. Plan ahead and be smarter. I told you a little bit of why I chose logistics and not banking. After I got into logistics and I really realized, there's so many moving pieces, I tell people that come to work for me in the logistics business, I said, it's not a sexy business, okay? You got sales over here, you got operations or merchandising over here, and you're the bridge, all right? And the bridge takes product and it delivers to the people that need it. And so I said, you're typically not going to get a call unless you're not delivering something on time. If a piece of that bridge is broken, you're going to get that call. Every now and then, you might get a little pat on the back, but at the end of the day, it is required. It's required in war. It's required in everything we do. Something brought everything we have here today via truck, via air, via intermodal, rail, whatever. I mean, logistics is the second largest percent of GDP in this country today besides healthcare. So I knew early on, and there's different areas you can focus in on logistics. I started setting my career goals early on. I looked at where I was and I said, look, I want to be at this, 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 and this, and I thought in 5-year increments. And when I go back and I reflect on that, I will tell you I didn't set my goals high enough. That when I look at it and look at what I was able to accomplish by setting those goals, I probably could have done a lot more if I set the goals higher. So set your goals high. Dream, just like another presenter talked about today. Set those goals high. I think your goals and definition of success adjust as you move through your career. How you perceive success may be monetary at first, but as you go through your career, it may be more about the relationships you have. It also may be more about, did you leave that place better than when you got there versus when you left? And one of the things I'm proud of about my own career is I feel like I've done that. When I got to a place and I tried to make a difference, and when I left it better. And why is that key? That's key because those individuals that you worked for and did, and that team you built, that will give you a relationship going forward. Because, Richard was here, he helped us fix this problem, and, going forward, we may call him again. How many times have you heard this? I wrote all these things down. Here are all the words we heard today. So, brand, passion, relationships, innovation, integrity, hard work, mentors. You're going to hear all of that in these next few new slides, or upcoming slides. Be passionate, whatever you do. When you talk to your coworker, your potential boss, when you're interviewing for a job, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're not doing the right thing. Have a philosophy or life mission. My own, I live off, or try to, and I promise you I'm not perfect on all of this. Is it faith, family, challenge, health, attitude? I've told my kids that. I said, look, you got to have principles in life. This is what I try to live by and try to abide by. One other thing I didn't tell you earlier. So I'm a Mississippi State grad. You'll be proud to know as Ole Miss MBA students, guess where my freshman daughter is this year? Ole Miss. So obviously some are smarter in our family than others. So anyway, she's having a great time. She's a freshman here, and she's looking forward to a great 4 to 6 years, depending on if she decides to get her MBA or not. Every job will teach you something. I heard people earlier say, take that first job because it truly will teach you something. That 6 weeks on a truck with a driver, I probably learned, as much there about just work ethic and how interaction goes between levels of responsibility and management from the driver all the way up to the president of a company. Every job will teach you something. I know you've heard this, mentors, have them. Whether they're family, friends, workers, find good mentors. In your work, always have integrity. John mentioned it earlier today. Ethics. We hear it on the news. You see things that you're like, man, from an ethics standpoint, teaching business ethics, why did that happen? But keep your integrity as you go through your career. Be determined. You're going to have failures. You're going to have mistakes. I certainly have. I'm not going to bring up all the mistakes today that I've had in my career, and I've certainly had them. Intelligence, being smart. It's incredibly important that you study. You're going to have to work hard. And yes, there's a little luck involved. Also, don't look back. Make your choice, make your decision, move on. Relevant to your own career, what's your objective? as you graduate or thinking about graduating, what's the objective? What's your plan? Are you prepared to go the extra mile in that career? Be a sponge. Know that change is going to come quickly. Be able to anticipate it and realize no job is perfect. Talk to you a little bit about what we look for from a job requirements today. Some of the panel touched on this a little bit. First of all, in our organization, it really depends on the job. What are you going to do? Are you going to be in sales? Are you going to be in operations? Are you going to be an analyst or an engineer? So that breeds a certain type of personality trait. Then, what's your work experience? Did you have work experience in college? Did you have work experience in high school? I agree that if you've got a chance to go internship at a bank or investment firm or a logistics company, do it. Do that internship. But even a little bit of work experience in your high school, in your college career, in that piece helps because it shows that you've had jobs and you know what a job looks like. Degree, GPA, awards, those are extremely important. Your community outreach, you heard that today. Contribute to your community. Be balanced. This is what I wanted to we talked about persistence a lot today a little bit, but make sure it's balanced. Good follow-up. Send an email, follow it up with a phone call maybe, but don't unbalance it to where you're almost being too persistent. Make sure your persistence is balanced. And at the end of the day, it is going to be the whole package. It's going to be your communication skills. Your ability to communicate is extremely important. So what is happening today and how does that impact your career? Yes, there's global unrest. You hear all about, how bad the economy is, all the issues that are out there today, but I'm still so positive about our country and the ability of our colleges and universities to produce great folks that can come in and help change and build organizations. Not just from the large Fortune 500 companies, but starting companies, from scratch. Banking has changed forever. Today, I will tell you that, where I mentioned this earlier with Dunavant, our lives changed in 2008, where we were living off of uncommitted lines and had to go to syndicated lines. That banking challenge is going to resonate for the next few years, and it could be forever. The other piece is information overload. We have so much information available to us today. It is through the internet, it's through news, it's everywhere. And how you're able to disseminate that and be able to use that to your advantage is going to be critical. Communication mediums. We communicate with our drivers today via, there's this whole new term called bring your own device, BYOD. And basically, today with smartphones, where in 1992, when we were putting tablets in trucks that were the size of, basically a CPU at your house, or today, a driver's got a smartphone about the size of my palm, and he's able to scan packages. He's able to put his signature there, have somebody else's signature, and it doesn't even have to be our device. It can be his own device. So communication mediums are changing. Fundamental versus speculative. What I mean by that is money's cheap right now, and it's going to remain cheap. And there's a lot of speculative money out there that can change things. The cotton business is a great example of that. That business was built on fundamentals. How much cotton you grew, how much cotton you sold, and that was the fundamentals of the business. Well, now, today, you've got where in the cotton market, maybe they were trading 35,000 contracts on the open exchange, and it rose to 300,000. So there's speculation out there today. And as you go into different businesses, realize the difference between the fundamentals of the business and speculation. Near and dear to me, oil went up to $150 a barrel in July of 2008 or something like that. It impacts the transportation logistics business tremendously. So what's happening in those commodity markets are extremely important. whether it's fundamental or speculative. We've had to hedge fuel before because of situations, whether it's speculative or fundamental. Probably most important and able to keep our costs down and costs down today is accurate forecasting, good probability analysis. We've got to have the ability to be able to forecast our services and the services that we're going to provide with our customers. We're always trying to get good information from our customers about sales and when those sales are going to impact from a logistics perspective, because it can take cost out of the supply chain. So how do you respond to all this? And so one of the things you've heard over and over and over, I've walked through, several things about Dunavant, several things about my own career, but how do you personally respond to this? Relationships, number one. It's been said over and over again. Trust the people. You're going to have a bond. Not necessarily going to have a relationship with every person you meet. I think it's exactly right. When you shake somebody's hand, look them in the eye, try to understand what they're saying, give them your story, be able to give them your elevator speech. What is your elevator speech? Be able to tell them that. What I mean by that is in 1 minute or less, tell them who you are and why you're there. Another big piece of this is just gaining trust. They've got to be able to trust you. And as you go forward, your track record. If you say something, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Even if it's wrong. You said it, you did it. Wrong being, it may have not been the right answer at the time, not wrong being from an integrity standpoint. Join incentive-based partnerships, contracts. You want to make sure that as you go through your career, you want to make sure that there's wins. Wins for both parties. Communication. We've talked about that a ton as well too. The ability to communicate. Whether, today we're leveraging mobile technology, there's nothing better than going and sitting down with somebody and getting to know who they are. But you got to be able to manage the data out there too. You got to be able to manage data. And today we're using data to alert people because there's so much information out there that we have to alert people when something's wrong. They don't want to know all the things that are right. They want to know when things are wrong. So touched on two pieces there. Communication up front, building relationships. That allows you to build your career. But managing data and manage it in the right way and culling through information is extremely important as well. People. Touched on this earlier as well. Rewards. Make sure you want to be rewarded as you develop your career, as you develop a company. Make sure you have the right reward plan for your employees. Good employee and comp plan. And I'll end with this slide. Be happy to take any questions, but it's said over and over again, find your passion, enjoy what you do, take action quickly, think about it, be able to think through problems and provide solutions. The last thing you want to do is provide your boss a problem and not a solution for it. And nothing takes away hard work. You're going to have to work hard, especially in this environment, this economy. You're going to have to think outside the box, and you're going to have to work harder than anybody else if you want to move in the direction and be successful in what you choose. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll take any questions. Even if I'm a Mississippi State grad, I'll be glad to take any questions. Sure.
It sounds like your experience at AutoZone is really formative. You speak about the team atmosphere and the energy that was there, and everyone doing the cheers and all this. It sounds like that made an impact on you. And I was wondering how much of that you were able to take with you when you left AutoZone, and how does it impact how you work with your teams today?
I will tell you that as I think about this, I think about the AutoZone mission statement. AutoZoners always put their customers first. They have the right products at the right time. I'm trying to think through it now. You caught me off guard a little bit. But basically, I think about that mission statement a lot. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you that culture, it makes you think on what type of culture you want to have in your own organization. And that every organization has to have a culture about it, has to have its brand. You read the books Good to Great, you talk about wonderful brands. I didn't talk about Williams-Sonoma much, but what a great brand. I mean, an incredible brand. But I would tell you that I've been fortunate in my career that I've worked for companies that have had incredible branding, And behind and beneath that has been their kind of mission statement or their vision statement. Williams-Sonoma was own the home. So, I mean, and you just don't forget those things. And the fact they resonate with me is the fact that that's why I believe they're a great brand today. And so I don't know that you want to adopt everything AutoZone did for that particular, area or industry, but I think you take things that you learn there or the brand that they built and you try to go apply that to your own company and what would work in your own company. So I hope that answers that question. Sure.
Yes, I was wondering where you see the logistics industry going. You see it declining because of the rapid inclination of fuel costs and as well as like motor vehicle drivers complaining about trucks on the road as a whole.
I would say that first of all, I don't see logistics as a whole declining. The population in the United States, I think somebody quoted today, is 338 million. I think Peter quoted that. I missed about 2 million, but anyway. But I would tell you, one of the things we study a lot is where is the population going to grow going forward? And so if you want to understand where economies are growing, look at where the population is growing most of the time. So I would tell you that, we're not a declining population in the United States. Our population is continue to grow, and because of that, it's going to require more logistics, more miles run. Now, I'll also say, yes, there is our highway infrastructure is terrible. We've not put money in it since Eisenhower. Our highway infrastructure has got to improve. Because of that, there's a lot of trucks, and when we go down the highway, it feels crowded. And over the last several years, last 5 to 10 years, the intermodal industry and my previous employer, J.B. Hunt, you started seeing more product move over the rail. And so you see a lot of boxes moving over the rail, but basically what that is to reduce the total miles, but move more product over the rail that reduces the truck miles. Also, that's what's going on in the industry right now is they're making it, the government, and I agree with this, we're trying to make the roads safer. So there's higher standards for drivers, as they go into, driving trucks. There's a 30,000 drivers short today is the number right now, the number of truck drivers that we don't have in order to move product. Kind of unbelievable thinking we've got 8.3% unemployment. But the problem is we just don't have qualifications. We don't have the skills for those guys to drive or women to drive. So.
Thank you so much.
All right.